Good evening. My name is Norberto Spangaro. On behalf of the Doral Community Coalition, we want to thank you all for the support you have given us on this cause. We have been working diligently within the coalition and with your support since 2015 on the Covanta issue. We have invested and worked on investigations, legal actions, and I have to admit that we were very frustrated with the decision made by the commissioners led by Pepe Diaz to reestablish a new facility in Doral. However, we never gave up, and when Doral elected Commissioner Bermudez to represent us, we have hope. He worked diligently 24/7 to reverse that decision and initiated all the work that has now this new positive step, which we're going to be discussing in a few minutes. A lot of work still needs to be done, and certainly we are blessed to have a true, honest, and hardworking representative who will do all he can to make the best decisions for Doral, the residents, and the county. I'm going to leave this for Yvette Petkovich, who has been leading the efforts of the coalition regarding the Covanta issue as an attorney and as a resident. She will cover in a brief summary what has been this new resolution issued by the mayor uh, and discuss any details that it's important to understand. Later on, the office of the Commissioner Bermudez with Representative Canaval, J.C. Canaval, will go over the future actions that need to be dealt with in the near future. With any further ado, Yvette Gonzalez Petkovich.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Norberto. Thank you for the introduction. So, most recently, on the 18th of August, Mayor Daniela Levincava issued a memorandum pretty much in anticipation of the county commission meeting that's set for the 6th of September. We've all been waiting for that date very patiently because the last time that we were before the commission on a major part of this issue back in March, when Commissioner Bermudez was able to get the commission to vote to basically undo what Pepe Diaz had done previously. And that act led to the county mayor then researching, investigating, and pursuing more reporting to figure out really and truly where should the new waste to energy facility go, and also just generally policies that we need to consider as it relates to waste disposal in Miami-Dade County. And so we've been waiting patiently, and on August 18th of this year, last week, Mayor Daniela Levincava issued a memo to the entire county commission, pretty much laying out where her administration stands on this issue of the new facility of waste disposal. And also in that particular memo, the administration points out some of the challenges that could exist in pursuing this, and also the reasoning for why the mayor believes that a particular course of action should be taken. And so on March 27th, that was when Commissioner Bermudez was able to get the commission to reconsider the next location. And so where we stand right now is that Miami-Dade County's mayor, Daniela Levincava, has issued this memorandum laying out several principles. But one of the main takeaways, or really two main takeaways from her memo, for those of us who care about this issue of removing the Covanta facility or the waste to energy facility out of Doral, making certain that it doesn't reopen, we had two major, I would say, wins when it comes to this issue. So first and foremost, Mayor Daniela Levincava has taken the position that the new waste to energy facility should be built not in Medley, not in Doral, but rather on a location in the very sort of western north corner of the county, on where Chrome and Okeechobee essentially meet. And that's on the northwest side of the county, very close to the county line. And so that particular area, for those of you who might know and understand this, we have a lot of mining that goes on to the west of the county. And essentially, this location is almost even more west than that and to the north. So it is very much at a distance from residents, and that was a huge concern for Doral. Not only removing it from where we live, but also putting it somewhere where other residents would not be impacted. And so the county mayor has taken the position that that is the ideal site. With that being said, I think the memo is very clear. There is something in the state law that is called concurrency requirements. So essentially, when it comes to building solid waste policy, the state mandates that our waste disposal has certain capacities for a period of 5 years. And without getting into the details of all of that, that is mandated by the state. And so if the county doesn't comply with that, it creates a lot of issues for the county. And so that's a major consideration in everything that the county is going to do when it decides where to put this location. And so these concurrency requirements is largely what is a main guide, is a primary guidance to the county in figuring out really what to do at this point. The reason why I mentioned that is because the mayor's memo, and this is our second win, the mayor's memo essentially says that we should not reopen the old facility here in the city of Doral. And essentially, if it is opened, it should be open to only, process very limited amounts of waste, and much of the waste is not the type that would generate a lot of the smells and the biodegradable issues, and all of those basically the smelly concerns that ultimately also go to our health concerns as well. And so the fact that the county mayor has taken these two positions is a huge win for the city of Doral. It's a huge win for those of us that have been fighting this issue for several years now. And so I think it's important to understand that this memo only lays out what the county mayor and her administration believes should occur with this resolution that was passed in March, basically with the push by Commissioner Bermudez. Her ideas and what she is proposing still needs to go before the county commission, and the county commissioners still need to vote to decide whether or not they're going to follow her recommendations or whether they're going to propose some variation of it. But in truth, for purposes of this issue and for purposes of those who care about this cause, the mayor's position is really the best case scenario that we can find ourselves in. And so it's important to understand that by no means is this issue resolved, but the important part is that we finally have leaders that are on our side, that understand our position, and really leaders that are not just looking at it from the perspective of what is best for the city of Doral, but rather leaders that are looking at it from the perspective of what is best for Miami-Dade County as a whole. And the fact is that placing this new facility at such a distance from residents as the location that is currently proposed really ends up being a major win for the residents of Miami-Dade County. And I'm hopeful that the county commissioners see it that way. I also think that it's important to understand that this is not a process that's going to be sort of smooth sailing. There are a number of concerns, obstacles, difficulties with what is being proposed. Why? Because if we do not open the old facility, right, the one that's in the city of Doral, then what is Miami-Dade County going to do to deal with their waste, the grand majority of their waste, until the new facility is built? And so the reason why that is complex is because we did not have much of an infrastructure, the county, where we've been thinking about waste, for the long term. And because of that, we're pretty limited to turning to our landfills, for example, and that was a big part of the memorandum, talking about, okay, well, if we're going to build this new facility, what are we going to do in the interim, and where is the waste going to go? And so the mayor's memo addresses the landfills. They're pretty much at capacity, and it would require extending the landfills, which is obviously not a policy that's going to be supported all the way around for the obvious reasons. But this is one of those issues where we may need to, give in a little bit on one end, and take on another end. And as in everything, we need to find that right balance. And it's also important to understand that there are 12 other commissioners who are going to be seeing this memorandum and seeing, some of the challenges and the opportunities that are highlighted by the county mayor. And they may take issue with it. They may believe that some of the points are valid while others are concerning. And so for those of us who have been working this issue as much as we have, we really need to continue pushing, and attending meetings, communicating with our electeds, and insisting that they really pursue building a facility elsewhere, and that they get serious about waste management and disposal in Miami-Dade County for the long run. And so, as far as the memo is concerned, I think something that many of the residents in Doral, and also many of those that have been really fighting on this issue where environmental concerns drives them, the county mayor is consistently committed, it seems, to the idea of zero waste, or at least aiming for zero waste. Whether or not it's something that we can ultimately achieve, she has really stuck with that particular messaging. And I think it's positive to see the consistency and how the actions and the policies that are being proposed, they all seem to be working together. Another big part of this memorandum, which is sort of the first that we've heard of this particular topic, is funding, and where are we going to find the money to do some of the things that are being proposed with this new facility, and even with not reopening Covanta. And so for the most part, the memo lays out sort of an analysis, if you will, of how do we fund this. And so some of the things that are being proposed is ad valorem taxation to fund the collection and the disposal in the short term, right, while Covanta, the old facility, is down, but also seemingly for the long term. So, for example, in the memo, the mayor proposes a $36 fee increase to our waste disposal fees that the residents of the county pay. And so I think the memo was interesting in the sense that we are beginning to talk about how these projects and how these policies are going to be funded. And so I think that the positive of that is that what we're beginning to see is actually taking shape. It's not just, I remember when Jose Pepe Diaz presented and insisted that the new facility be built in the city of Doral, there was zero conversation, but for some commentary about how are we going to pay for all of this. And so it really appears as though we are headed in the right direction. And we have to keep in mind that funding is also going to be a big part of how the commissioners see what the mayor has put forth. And so with this particular memorandum, it's pretty comprehensive. It talks about turning to federal funding, state funding in order to build these facilities. It talks about using the Inflation Reduction Act as a means to try to fund these projects. And so for the most part, it seems like finally our county government, at least under this new county commission, They are actually focusing on, okay, financially, how is it that we are going to do this? And so, for the most part, I think that this what I've laid out explains what the memo is. I think we need to keep in mind that the memo does state that while the county wants to will support, or rather the mayor supports the new facility being built, up in the northwest side of Miami-Dade County, far away from residents, she does indicate that we need to have two alternative backup locations. And that is really where, for many of us, we might take a bit of pause and think about it, because the two other locations are Medley, which has been spoken about in the past, and the city of Doral, where the current location is at. Basically, the mayor lays out that the reason why we need to take this into consideration is that a facility like this does not get built that easily. It requires permitting, and obviously it's a very regulated industry. So the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, at the federal level and even and at the state level, play a big part into whether or not this project could really come to fruition. And so the basic premise of having these two alternative sites is because we need options in the event that this particular location will not be sufficient for permitting and regulatory purposes. And so my thought behind that, and with that, the coalition's thought is, we have been very active with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. You'll recall that the coalition actually challenged the air permit for Covanta. This was well before, more than a year and a few months before the fire occurred. And so the Florida Department of Environmental Protection is very well aware of the concerns of having this facility in the city of Doral. And I think that historically, how much pushback and the actions that have been taken by the coalition and other organizations at the state level, it really sets the stage for the state to know and expect that the residents are not going to just allow the state to not consider that site or to easily shoot it down. And so, again, I think that all the work that's been done on this issue over the last 2+ years, the very active work, especially on the part of the coalition, we're really beginning to see sort of the fruits of our labor, and how the county, the administration, and the commission really have begun to see what we have been pushing for, and have actually begun to work to really come up with some solutions. And so, aside from that, I'm trying to pick out the highlights of this memo. I think the last one that I want to make certain to mention is that what they plan to build on Chrome and US 27, this new facility all the way to the west and to the north, it's not just another incinerator. The idea, it seems, is that it's going to be sort of a campus or a complex where Miami-Dade County can handle all of its waste disposal needs, or the bulk of it. And so I think that this is a very exciting concept. And I think that approaching this from this perspective of making it a complex, a campus, where now moving forward, for decades to come, that part of the county is where all the bulk of the waste disposal and policies and actions will take place, is a very positive thing, not just because of new technology that could make itself available, but the actual location is really the largest that's been proposed so far. And so with that, I hope that those who are listening to us, first of all, hear our optimism and our excitement Norberto, you came back on. I still remember back in October of 2021 where the coalition put on a big event at Doral Legacy Park. We had 100 plus residents who attended. And I'll tell you, Norberto, I don't know if you remember, there was a lot, and I mean, obviously those who attended were felt strongly about this cause, but there was definitely a lot of pessimism, a lot of negativity about whether we could actually accomplish this. Talking to residents, knocking on doors on this issue, people would often respond like, this is never going to happen. We've been fighting this for so many years. And so my bigger message, I guess, in addition to the positivity of this, is how this issue and where we are at right now really is a perfect example of how when residents come together, with no ulterior motive, just simply, protecting their community, caring about their community, and being persistent, right? Not giving up. I remember receiving a phone call from a resident in July of last year when Jose Pepe Diaz decided to build the new one in the city of Doral. I remember receiving a message saying, it's all over, we've lost. And I remember that my response to that resident was like, no, 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 no. We have not lost. We believe in this. We're on the right side of this issue. And obviously, putting the right officials in office, for example, Commissioner Bermudez had a great deal to do with that. We can't deny that the fire had a great deal to do with all of this. But let's be honest, we had been advocating for this all along because we knew that something like the fire could happen. And so I really just think that we're really headed in the right direction on this issue. And I think residents should continue to support this issue, insist that their electeds do what needs to be done, and remember to put the pressure on the right individuals, because we're almost there. We shouldn't waste time with efforts that aren't necessarily going to bring us the results that we need, but rather focus on the county commission and those commissioners who might be less likely to support Mayor Cava's proposals.
Exactly. I want to add, thank you, Yvette. I want to add JC Cannibal, who has been instrumental in working with Commissioner Bermudez, who is traveling at this point in time. He wanted to join us, but he wasn't available today. I think a lesson that we learned, Yvette and JC, I think you will agree with us, is that sometimes the solutions are in our hands, in actions that are indirect to a certain issue. And in our hands is to elect the proper people to represent you, people who really do what the residents expect an elected official to do: work for you, represent you, share your interests, share your concerns. And I think we cannot have done this with the fire and with everything else without somebody who really represented the city of Doral, but also has the interest of the county in his mind. Because in this memo that you can read in our site is a comprehensive plan. We always said Covanta is just one single thing in a big issue, which is waste disposal and waste management. And I think this is not just moving the problem for Doral and keeping the problem. And I think we also had to thank Mayor Levine Cava, because she has taken in her hands a plan that is comprehensive, that will take years. It will not be seen, but some of us probably in its completion, but it certainly looks at the problem in a very comprehensive and broad way. However, this is just one step forward. It's not the end of the road. There is a lot of work, and it has been a lot of work that has been done by the Office of Commissioner Bermudez, because this is done at the commission level. That's where things happen. This is the county, okay, and we have been working, very hard, but we were ignored by the county, and unfortunately, now we have a representative who made our voice be heard. But importantly, He put the best for the county and the city of Doral in front of the of Levin Cava, and hopefully in the near future we'll get everything approved. But that is a hard work that needs to be done. And I want to ask JC, what are the next step? What is your office and all you working on going forward?
Well, first and foremost, thank you to the coalition. Thank you, Norberto. Thank you, Yvette, for putting this event together. I think keeping the members of the community informed is paramount in moments like these, and events such as these provide us a rare opportunity with modern technology that maybe we didn't have a couple of years ago to just connect people and, hear each other out and be able to talk about things that are interesting that are happening in our community. I think that something that occurred on Friday, which was releasing this memo, was a very interesting part of what's going to happen in this community. I was with you guys the entire step of the way in Doral, right? We fought this very hard while Commissioner Bermudez was then Mayor Bermudez at the city of Doral. I think we all remember that day on May 3rd, where we pretty much took the van back from the Stephen P. Clark Center to the city of Doral. We were all pretty deflated that day. It wasn't a good day, but look at where we're at. And it's only been about a year later, right? We're moving things in the right direction. The one thing that I do remember on that day, on May 3rd, was that we weren't heard. The residents weren't heard that day. Nothing, we weren't even taken into consideration is a more proper way of saying it, I think, because we didn't even really have an opportunity to speak. We had, 50 plus people there. The coalition brought 50 plus people there to the Stephen P. Clark Center, and no one got heard. That's a pretty stark difference from what we're dealing with today. I remember when Commissioner Bermudez, then Mayor Bermudez, we visited the Palm Beach plant on a day's notice because that's what the chairman at the time provided for us. We all had to drop everything we were doing, cancel all the meetings, and go. Otherwise, we were made to seem like we didn't care. These things, this little game of that these politicians were playing at that time, aren't occurring today. And that echoes what you said, Norberto, is that we started to elect representatives that truly listen to the people. I think it's important to note that, given the fact that we managed to do a lot leading up into this point, right? We managed to overturn a decision by the Board of County Commissioners, which then led to where we are at today. We, as a team, I have my coworker of mine, actually our legislative director, on the line as well. Her name is Vivian Castro. She doesn't need to jump on right now or anything like that, but she is on the call just because we take pride in what we do. Under Commissioner Bermudez's leadership, we scoured the county, looked for possible locations, and literally just looked for big plots of land here and there, see what could work, where it could work. But we had parameters. We had benchmarks that we wanted to hit. And those benchmarks came from listening to the members of the community. In the time between today and the fire, we met with multiple groups, not just, not this the Doral Community Coalition. We went with other groups too. And we took everybody's opinion into consideration in how we came about our processes to present different plots of land. So where we're at today, I think we're definitely in a step in the right direction. I think that we're moving in a direction that really puts the residents first. It's frankly what it is. We're putting the residents first. The first benchmark we set for ourselves was to make sure a residential component of Miami-Dade County wasn't near where this facility will be. Benchmark number one. That's why for us, Medley wasn't really an option. Commissioner Bermudez now, not Mayor Bermudez, the Commissioner Bermudez represents multiple municipalities, Medley being one. But that's not where Commissioner Bermudez ever stops. His other parameter was to keep it in District 12, because most elected officials would pass the buck on to someone else, make it their problem. But Commissioner Bermudez didn't do that. We kept it in District 12. We found an area that, complied with all the parameters. And now we just have to go through the basic evaluations that any location would have to go through to have a plant like this put on its existing location. The one thing that I think and I hate to say this, but I think you missed it, Yvette, was the part that really resonated the most for me. And that also occurred in, in March when we passed the resolution to rescind it. But that was also to open it up to new technologies.
Right.
Not just incineration at this point. It's opening up to, it was mulching, a bunch of other things are mentioned in here, and we're going to have a more comprehensive report on that in and of itself. And I think that's really the part that's kind of being missed the most, in my opinion, and that's just the environmentalist in me, is that we're adapting to new technologies. We're seeing what's the best thing out there, and that's what's going to be implemented. So, to answer your question directly, what are our next steps, right? That's what you wanted to know from me. Next steps, we have to keep the pressure on. I think the coalition, the residents, we've done a pretty good job of letting the community know, hey, we don't want this here, and we want it somewhere better for the residents of Miami-Dade County. You guys have done email campaigns, you've been at all the meetings. I recommend you keep doing that. I recommend that you say, hey, we love this report. We love the concept of it going in this location that's around nobody. Why? Because without your voices, you won't be heard, because now you're being heard. So for me, I stand here with a lot of pride because I'm very happy to have played a small part in this. I was able to help out a little bit. I'm not, and it's only sweeter because we know how bitter it was, right? So taking everything into account, it's hard to pat yourself on the back, because we're not there yet. We're really not. I really want to drive that point home. We're not there yet, but we're getting close. And when we're getting close, is not the time to get your foot off on the gas.
Right.
Keep going. So please, guys, if you can take anything from this call, keep the pressure up. Tell your elected officials, hey, this is a good plan. This is a good idea. Please go forward with it. I want to bring up one last thing. Under Commissioner Bermudez's leadership, we managed to rescind a vote that was unanimous. There are members on the board that were making those votes then too. Given that, I think it's a testament to his leadership. I'm frankly a little impressed by it myself, and I get to work with him, so it's a blessing to get to learn from him. And I'm just excited to see the future of waste for Miami-Dade County, guys. I'm really excited for it, and that's not something I was a year ago. So I'm glad we're at where we're at today. And if you have any questions for me, obviously you have me, you have Vivian on the line, and anything you guys need from us, we have an open door always.
JC, just a very quick question. I mean,
Yes, sir.
this is, most of the people really don't know how the county works and everything else. This is you're not dealing with just one professional in the waste management organization. You're dealing with 12 representatives, I guess, and the mayor, the office of the mayor.
Don't forget the departments.
And the departments. So
Don't forget them.
It's difficult for anybody to understand. I mean, how much work you got to do day after day, meeting with people, explaining, convincing, talking about. Yes, we can do the pressure, but the fact of life is that you are in the kitchen doing dinner. We can show that we want to eat, we want to have a good dinner, but
Right.
you're the one that start from farming. You got to build it and you got to serve it. You do everything there.
Right.
How is your experience, your first experience now? Nobody's listening to us. But tell me, what an experience that must be, because I always told now Commissioner Bermudez, I prefer to call him good friend Bermudez, that I never met anybody else in life who built a city.
Yeah,
And
completely, right?
And I think if history will show that there was a commission in Miami-Dade County that passed a resolution with a unanimous vote to put a plan somewhere, that a year later everything has changed. That's a big change. That's a huge change.
Completely. And here's the thing. I mean,
you got to have a lot of respect from your colleagues and everybody else. And you don't do that just putting the interests of the city of Doral. You got to be above that.
You have to be altruistic. You have to be genuine too, in some capacity, right? Like it's what I said earlier, right? it's really easy to pass the buck in politics. It's real easy to say, dude, put this thing in Homestead. There's so much land, residents, it can be zoned better, all that. But he doesn't do that. He literally said, let's figure it out here. Let's figure it out here. And we did. I mean, if you go to this site, it's massive.
Mm-hmm.
It's massive. And it's tucked away in the middle of nowhere. It's no man's land. And to me, it's perfect, really. And then that wasn't the only location we proffered. We proffered multiple locations that fit the requirements, really. And one of the parameters that the county hit us back with was that they wanted to own the land. So that narrowed down a couple of them, but we definitely had triple Ps ready to go,
So JC, if I may, is it correct to say that Commissioner Bermudez's office actually sought out and looking for locations to propose to the mayor? Is that correct?
Safe to say, it's in the memo.
Okay, and I only ask because I know that there's still a lot of residents that want to understand what Commissioner Bermudez's position on this is.
No,
and so my thought process is position.
That's one resident.
His office is the one that's been looking for alternative sites. I don't know if alone, but definitely, as you just stated, you guys took this on. And so I wanted to make sure I asked that, and that was crystal clear.
Yes, you can find it's on page 11 on the second paragraph. It's like on August 1st, 2023, Commissioner Juan Carlos Bermudez asked that additional sites located in the northwestern part of his district be added to a short list for further analysis. Take it right there.
And it's so interesting because we were always told there's nowhere else, right, Norberto? And I don't know if you had present.
I mean, here's the thing.
And I got to tell you, even when Commissioner
decommissioned the airport, man.
Commissioner Bermudez was saying all these, as JC said, I was skeptical. I said, gee, I don't think you're going to get all that. But again, that shows importance sometimes.
No, it shows a level of respect between him and his peers. Right?
Exactly,
it shows a level of respect. It shows acknowledgement that what was done in the past wasn't correct.
Exactly.
The Renees of the world have to live with having to work with him now, and they know that he can get called out at any moment in time for hypocrisy. And if we know Bermudez, he'll call his ass out.
Absolutely. So, JC, when is the commission meeting?
See, that's the thing. Are we on record right now or no?
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. So we're hoping it's September 6th.
Okay, but we have to watch out the agenda. We have to watch.
We got to watch out the agenda. Okay.
Remember who sets the agenda?
Exactly.
The chairman.
The chairman. Absolutely.
Mr. Gilbert.
We trust you guys working on this, and I think we have made a very huge step forward. We all have to keep working together with one objective: the benefit of the county and in the benefit of the city of Doral. We want to thank you, JC. We want to thank Commissioner Bermudez, Vivian, and all the team because of the hard work you have been doing. The bad news, you keep working because we need you to keep working hard. The good news, we are in good hands. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you, everybody. We will keep you updated. Our website, the www.doralcommunitycoalition.org, has all the documents. I don't think we have translated the memorandum into Spanish. We'll do it and we'll put it in there for those who need it in Spanish and want to read it away. It's worth reading it. It's a statement of direction of one of the major subjects that we live in planet Earth today, which is waste management. So thank you very much. Have a very good night, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.